What's up everyone, Soldier First Class here, and today's mission, we've got a Final Fantasy VII Remake theory. Now I know you've been waiting a few months for me to say those words again, and I decided to make the first video back a really special one. And this theory deals with a connection between Jenova and Shiva. Now, you may be wondering why there would be a theory about a common summon materia, but there's actually evidence of unused concepts from the original game that may point to Shiva being super important to the overall narrative. We'll be diving deep into the lore of the original game and the lore of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Special shout out to Jenny from the Final Fantasy VII Remake Facebook page who got the ball rolling on this theory with me. She also posted her part of the findings on Reddit, which I'll link in the description below. So, to begin, we all know the story of Jenova and the Calamity from the Skies event that wiped out the Cetra race over 2,000 years ago, but what we don't know is how it all went down. Jenova arrived on the planet, destroyed the Cetra by using the images of their loved ones, and wiped almost all of them out while humans went into hiding. But who made the last stand? Who struck the blow that sealed Jenova away and left her dormant for 2,000 years? Was it a random Cetra warrior whose name was lost to history, or is there a more supernatural force at work? Fans have theorized for years that Knights of the Round is actually just Cetra warriors who became the summon materia, and they're the ones who sealed her away. However, the developers, specifically Kitase, shot that down a long time ago. Materia is not a new concept in the world of Final Fantasy VII, nor has it only been around in the timeline of events we see in the compilation. Removed text from the original game actually explains the origins of summon materia and what role they play with the planet, and it feeds into this theory. The developers have said several times that there are things they wish they had time to keep in the original game, and that the remake would be their chance to bring some of those concepts back, and Shiva might just be one of those concepts. I firmly believe that we have proof that Shiva, the ice goddess, is the one who sealed Jenova away. The evidence for this is actually in the remake itself, but if you're not really looking for it, it's super easy to miss or just glance over. Let's take a look at Shiva's entry in the Bestiary of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Her description states, an ice element summon recreated in virtual reality. It is the manifestation of a queen who once healed the planet's wounds with ice, as evidenced by the existence of permafrost in the polar lands. So Shiva is the soul of an ancient queen who used her ice magic, likely ice materia, to heal the planet's wounds, the wounds having been caused by Jenova. But what in the original game supports this theory? Well, actually, nothing, but it's what was removed that does. During the development of Final Fantasy VII, certain things had to be cut to meet the release date deadline. There's a lot of removed text from the Japanese version of the game, and one of those pieces of removed text takes place in the Temple of the Ancients and ties deeply into the lore of summon materia. In the removed text, Sephiroth is speaking to Aerith about the Ancients and her ties to them and the planet. This text was supposed to take place sometime before or after fighting the dragon boss and obtaining the Bahamut summon materia. In the removed text, he states, during the time when the Ancients prospered, there existed beings that were brought up bathed in the light of abundant Mako. They were pure creatures of natural shape. Several types remain even now. Some of these beings sealed their life energy within materia, altering their lives forever. Aerith then replies, the summon materia. Sephiroth then continues with, correct, such a clever girl. The creatures who protect this temple have lived long, relics from the age of the Ancients. They belong to this planet even more than you do. This removed text gives us some insight into the origins of summon materia and feeds into this theory that Shiva is the soul of the queen who used her ice magic to heal the planet and seal Jenova away. This would give summon materia an origin story and explain why the summons look and act the way that they do. Materia is an ancient byproduct of the planet and has been around for centuries, and if creatures, or even Cetra, can seal their essence into summon materia, then summons actually have a notable backstory and lore inside of Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VII Remake. And if we want to dive even further down the rabbit hole, this actually makes sense if the connection between Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy X is real. In Final Fantasy X, the faith of the souls of people who gave up their lives to become the Aeons, or summon creatures. In Final Fantasy X too, there is a little Albed boy by the name of Shinra who wishes to farm the far plane as an energy source, but realizes the process won't be able to occur in his lifetime. He's funded by the Albed merchant Rin, which likely begins the process of Shinra's descendants having the money to create the Shinra Electric Power Company. In this theory, at some point, Shinra's descendants arrive on the planet of Gaia in Final Fantasy VII's world and begin to harvest the planet's life force for energy production. From what we know of both the Far Plane and the Lifestream, they are both formed by the souls of the dead, which would mean spiritually that the world of 10 and the world of 7 are connected. If the faith of the souls of people who turn themselves into summon creatures, then this ability makes sense when people sealed their souls inside of summon materia in a similar process. Now granted, this is extremely far-fetched if the connections are not actually there, but that's the tough part about it, because the developers have gone back and forth on this several times. However, we have more evidence to support this actually occurring, because inside the Shinra HQ museum in Remake, there's a picture of a Shinra employee, or possibly even Shinra's descendant, and look what he's wearing. The same mask that we see being worn by Shinra in Final Fantasy X too. Again, this could just be a nod to the connection theory, but what if this is the developers telling us that there are deeper connections here? Considering both stories are works of Kazushige Nojima, the connection is highly possible, which he's even confirmed in the Final Fantasy VII Ultimania Omega. Even Kitase fed into this connection in an interview with Edamame Arcade Channel, where he confirmed the two worlds are connected. What if Shinra from Final Fantasy VII is a direct descendant of the Al-Bhed and Shinra from Final Fantasy X too? That would mean that the process of creating summons evolved over time, and instead of becoming statues, they sealed themselves inside a materia. This would explain how the summon materia is formed from the people sealing their souls inside of it, and why Shiva is an ice elemental summon. And it also explains that Jenova was sealed away and the planet's wounds were healed from her impact by none other than Shiva herself. Now this doesn't mean that the Ice Queen defeated Jenova, but it does mean that she's the one who sealed her away and caused the northern lands to become permanently frozen. While this is all just one big interwoven theory, it gives us real insight into the backstory and lore of Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VII Remake, and the connections to Final Fantasy X's world. It also means that summons aren't just a mechanic, but an actual part of the mythos and lore of the world around them. But as always, what do you think, soldiers? Is Shiva the Cetra queen who sealed Jenova away, or is this theory as crazy as I am? Thanks for watching, and don't forget to omni-slash that like button. Let me know in the comments section below what you think of this Final Fantasy VII Remake theory. Subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell to join the ranks of Soldier today. And for all the latest Final Fantasy VII Remake news, theories, and content, I'm Soldier First Class, and I'm on to the next mission. Later, guys.